Right now, somewhere on this planet, you are warm. You have a blanket. You have walls. You have a light switch. 40,000 years ago, none of that existed. And one single group of humans, the ones you are about to meet, had never once felt a season this cold. They didn't know what winter was. They didn't have a word for freeze to death. They were about to learn both, in the same week. This is the story of the first winter humans ever survived, and the 3 decisions that saved our entire species before it even had a chance to begin. Stay till the end, because the way they solved this problem is still hiding inside your own body, right now. Picture a small group, 22 people. A stickman tribe living on an open plain somewhere in what is now Central Europe, tens of thousands of years ago. They had spent their whole lives in a warm cycle. Green plains, full rivers, easy hunting. Their bodies, their tools, their entire way of life, all built for one kind of weather. Then the days start shortening. Not slowly. Fast. The sun that used to sit high at midday now barely clears the trees. The air that used to smell like grass now smells like nothing at all. The elders of the tribe had seen short cold spells before. Nights that dipped low, mornings with frost on the grass. But none of them had a name for what was coming, because none of them had lived through it before. Animals start disappearing. Not dying, leaving. Migrating south in numbers the tribe has never seen. The herds they depend on for meat simply vanish over the horizon in a single week. The plants that fed them all summer turn brown and brittle, then vanish under the season's first thin sheet of frost. And the temperature keeps dropping. Not by a little. By enough that water left out overnight turns solid by morning. This tribe is now facing something that no human before them had to solve at this scale, a true winter, one that could last months, with a body built for warmth and a world that had just switched itself off. They have no stored food. No permanent shelter built for cold. No winter clothing. What they have is 22 people, some fire, some tools, and about 4 weeks before the real freeze hits. That number, 4 weeks, is the whole story. Everything that happens next comes down to what they do with that time. The tribe's first instinct is the same instinct any of us would have: keep doing what already works. Hunt the way they've always hunted. Sleep where they've always slept. Wait for things to go back to normal. For the first week, that's exactly what they do. And it almost kills them. Their usual hunting grounds are empty, the herds are gone. Hunters come back with less food every single day. The open-air sleeping spots that were comfortable all summer are now unbearably cold at night. People stop sleeping properly. Exhausted, hungry, and cold is the worst possible combination for a group that still has months of this ahead of them. One misstep almost changes everything. A group of the tribe's best hunters, chasing a food source, get caught outside overnight in a sudden temperature drop, away from the fire. 2 of them develop the earliest signs of hypothermia, shivering that won't stop, confusion, stumbling. It's the tribe's first real brush with the fact that cold itself, not just hunger, can kill. They make it back. But that night becomes the turning point. The oldest woman in the group, the one who has lived through the most seasons, says something that becomes the tribe's new rule. We stop living like it's still warm. That single sentence changes their strategy completely. From this point on, everything they do is built around one goal: don't just find food, find warmth, and don't waste a single day. For days later, they find something that changes everything. A dead woolly rhino, already stripped by scavengers, its body frozen and half hollowed out by the elements. To anyone still thinking like it's summer, it's just a carcass. To a tribe now thinking like it's winter, it's the first real shelter they've had in weeks. They finish hollowing it out. The thick hide becomes a wall against the wind. The frozen ribcage becomes a frame. Inside that hollowed-out rhino body, for the first time in this brutal season, the tribe builds a fire and sits around it, actually, protected from the wind for the first time in days. It isn't comfortable. It isn't permanent. But it is warm enough to survive the night, and that's the only measurement that matters anymore. This moment, stickmen huddled by firelight inside the frozen shell of a dead giant, becomes the tribe's first working formula for winter: find shelter that blocks wind, keep fire alive at all times, and never again sleep fully exposed. From here, the strategy multiplies. Groups fan out to find or build more shelters like it. Some are hollowed logs, some are dug into hillsides, some are simple lean-tos of branches and hide, packed with snow on the outside for insulation, the same trick modern igloos still use today. Fire becomes sacred. No longer just a tool, it's kept burning in shifts, day and night, because losing it means starting from nothing in temperatures that no longer forgive mistakes. Shelter solves the cold. It doesn't solve the hunger. With the big herds gone, the tribe has to completely rethink how it eats. And this is where their winter survival starts requiring real innovation, not just endurance. They start hunting smaller, tougher animals that stay through the cold, animals built for winter themselves. They start digging through snow for frozen roots and buried plant stores that rodents have hidden away, essentially stealing from smaller creatures' own winter preparation. They discover something almost accidental but massive: meat left out in the freezing air doesn't rot the way it does in warm months. Cold is a preservative. For the first time, this tribe learns to save food for days it hasn't happened yet, an early, primitive form of the exact same instinct that fills your refrigerator today. They start rationing. Not because someone tells them to, but because the ones who eat everything today and starve tomorrow don't make it to the next moon. Natural pressure teaches the lesson faster than any lecture could. Clothing becomes urgent too. Furs that were once just bedding get wrapped, tied, and layered onto bodies for the first time as functional winter gear, not fashion, survival. Every scrap of hide matters now. Piece by piece, this tribe is inventing an entire winter lifestyle in real time, with zero instructions, using nothing but trial, error, and the brutal feedback of a season that does not care whether they figure it out in time. Near the coldest point of the season, the tribe faces its hardest test, the longest, harshest night of the entire winter. The temperature drops further than anything they've felt before. Wind finds every gap in their shelters. The fire keepers fight to keep flames alive against gusts that seem determined to put them out. This is the night that decides everything. Every lesson from the past weeks, the hollow shelters, the fire discipline, the rationed food, the layered furs, gets tested all at once, together, for the first time. They huddle in tight groups, body against body, inside the shelters they built. Children are placed at the center, surrounded by adults. It's not just instinct, it's strategy, refined over weeks of hard lessons. By morning, the wind dies down. The fire is still burning, just barely. Everyone is alive. That night becomes the proof that this tribe hasn't just survived winter, they've learned it. And a lesson learned under that kind of pressure doesn't disappear. It gets passed down. When spring finally returns, this tribe isn't the same group that entered winter 4 months earlier. They're colder hardened, more coordinated, and carrying knowledge no human before them ever had to learn: how to read a season before it fully arrives, how to build shelter that fights wind instead of just blocking rain, how to keep fire alive as a full-time responsibility, and how to preserve food using cold instead of losing it to decay. None of this was written down. It couldn't be, writing didn't exist yet. It was passed the only way knowledge could travel back then: by watching, by doing, by surviving alongside someone who already knew. Every single one of us alive today is a descendant of tribes that passed this test. The instinct you feel to grab a blanket when it's cold, to want a fire or a heater in winter, to store food before a storm, that isn't random. It's a direct echo of a lesson learned by people exactly like the ones in this story, sitting inside a hollowed-out rhino, watching a fire they refused to let die. They didn't have a word for winter. But by the time spring came, they understood it better than most of us ever will. And that knowledge, earned in the cold, passed down in silence, is the reason any of us are here to ask the question at all.